Petrodollar's breaking now. In December 1974, U.S. Treasury Secretary William Seymour flew to Saudi Arabia, carrying a secret that would reshape the global power for the next 50 years. The mission wasn't about buying the oil. It was about making oil only valuable in dollars. The blueprint refined over decades. And now the weapon both Washington and Beijing are using to fight over the Venezuela 300 billion barrel of the crude oil. About this moment was entirely global financial system. You participate every day. It's retirement account. Your saving, the value of every dollar you earn was actually built mechanics designed in a secret negotiation 50 years ago. And what if some mechanic is now being reversed, engineered by the big economic rival? Picture the scenery. August 15, 1971, Camp David, president of Nixon, appeared for the television, announced United States will no longer convert dollar to the gold. That time is per ounce $35. So the Bretton Woods system, which has had anchored global finance since 1944, collapsed. Oh, my practice is 1934. Wow, 1944 collapsed overnight. Within the 18 months, the dollar lose about 10% of the value in central bank. So worldwide panic is questioned. Everyone asking, what the back to the dollars now? The answer will come from the unexpected crisis. So October 1973, Egyptian Syria forces attacked Israel. During the Yom Kippur was by October 17, Arab members of the OPEC declared the oil embargo against the nations, supporting Israel oil price. Okay. Grappled from the $3 to the 12 per barrel. Wow. Multiple times, 4 times, $3 to the 12 per barrel in just 4 months. You have probably seen the photo car lineup. Block and the American gas station. Driver waiting for hours for fuel. Waiting for hours for fuel stations. Running dry midday. Loads of shortage line tier 1. The story, but the real story unfold is secret negotiation between 1974 and 75 negotiation, the most American never heard about at the time. The Treasury Secretary William Seymour and the Assistant Secretary David Mulford sit down with the Saudi official and lay out a deal that sounds almost too simple. Here are the terms: Saudi Arabia price or its oil in dollars, reinvestment surplus dollar in U.S. Treasury bond, and the exchange. We provide military protection and access to the American weapon. Think about that. That is really mean what every country on the earth need to energy now has to hold to the dollars every barrel of oil, so that everywhere create demand our currency. But in 1977, 20% of U.S. Treasury securities are held by the OPEC nation. 1977, the U.S. Treasury securities is held by the OPEC nation. The dollar now backed by the oil demand instead of gold regain reserve currency status. We didn't just recover from the collapse. The Bretton Woods was built something more powerful system. Global energy depends us create automatic demand of the American currency. If you want to oil and you need our dollars, so here where's Venezuela into the picture. The January 1st, 1976, the President Carlos Andrew nationalized the Venezuela oil industry, creating the Petros Venezuela PDVSA. At the time, Venezuela told a proven reserve 80 billion barrel of the 18 billion barrel later revised of 303 billion of the Aramco. So the bad heavy crude discovery annual production reaches 2.3 billion barrels per day. So Venezuela became the OPEC, where the number of the capital earning about 13.8 billion oil revenue in 1974. It looked like a triumphant sovereign, right? A nation taking control its own natural resource, joined the club of the oil-rich state, and seemed to hold all the card. There's something most people miss out. Is the moment here is what actually happened. Behind the nationalization ceremony, international bank flush with petrodollar, and from Saudi Arabia and other OPEC members begin to lending aggressively to oil production. The Venezuela external debt grew, become 1.2 billion in 1970 and 29 billion in 1982. Think about it. The trajectory in the 12 years Venezuela debt multiple was 24 times. So the pattern emerged, and the crucial understand oil-rich nations borrow the dollars against the future production, essential prices there. So that's why direct S&P 500. So, Standard Poor 500. Less surveillance and the current oil price, when price crashed. In 1986, again in the 2014, the debt remained and the revenue collapsed. You still owe the same amount, but your income dropped by the half. And then more, between 1975 and 80, mechanics take the full shape. Every nation needs energies has to hold the dollars. Every nation with all the revenue, except dollar. The system required continual dollar circulation through the oil market. Any nation holding the both oil reserve and the dollar, that becomes what you might call the pressure point, a place where creditor nations are extra leverage. So let's zoom out to see what is actually construct in the decades. So in 1917, established a trap of disguise as the prosperities oil production nations gain immediately wealth and the surrounding long-term autonomy and the denominating debt in dollars and oil contract in dollars. So we create structural demand, our currency, and persist regardless our trade balance, fiscal policy, even economic performance. Venezuela, 1976, separate power, newly nationalized oil wealth, massive reserve in OPEC membership. Realities in entire system design transform resource was abundance into the financial depends. The mechanic was the elegant in simplicity and lend the dollars to oil producer required repayment in dollar. So also ensure oil is only sold for the dollars. Any disruption to oil revenue trigger debt crisis, making the debtor nation vulnerable to creditor demand, here's what should grab our attention. So this system wasn't imperialism in the 19th century, the sense of the gunboats and the colony government. It was something more sophisticated, self-imposing system where country volunteer into the dependence of pursue the national short-term interest. Venezuela borrowed because oil revenue made a long, cheap infrastructure investment. Seems wise. Bank lend because oil reserve made the collateral reliable. Everyone acts logically within the system rule, and the trap is structures, not conspirations. In the 1982, when the Mexico default and triggered the Latin American debt crisis, the pattern was unmistakable, but land Venezuela and a dozen of other commodity-rich nations were already locked in. You can see the genius of it, and the system didn't need to enforcement through the military occupation. It enforced itself through the debt obligation and the currency requirement. The question was never whether the system would create crisis. It was engineered to create them, boom and bust. The cycle of bugs and the system, the feature enabled to periodic and the transform. Resource holder, creditor. The real question is who would control those crises? When the inevitable comes to the answer, another 40 years to fully reveal itself, but the blueprint was complete by the end of the 1970s. Control currency, that buy oil, and you control the nation, the sell it, and the Venezuela, 303 billion barrels were not the protection from this system. It was the reason Venezuela became the target. And now, 5 decades later, someone else has studied the blueprint very carefully and figured out how to use it themselves. The blueprint from the 70s, a test case proved actually work. The test came into August 1982 when Mexico announced could no longer service 80 billion external debt. Oil revenue had collapsed from the 199.4 billion in 1981 and 16.2 billion in 82. So a price fair, and the 35 and 28. Within a week, the crisis spread like a wildfire. So Argentina, Brazil, Venezuela are facing default simultaneous, and most people miss out the moment. This wasn't a random crisis. It was debt for the oil mechanism producing the first harvest. Let me walk you through exactly how this machine operates, because understanding this will perchance explain everything happened in the Venezuela today was coming to other resource nation. Perhaps one is landing boom, and when oil price rise, resource nations suddenly appear credit worthy for the international bank. Venezuela flush with oil revenue, can borrow dollars and competitive rate and infrastructure social program. So military equipment, the debt seems to completely manageable, and because the current revenue is high. So from the 2004 to 2014, when oil averaged 80 and per barrel, hundreds, 80 to the 100s per barrels, Venezuela government spending expanding from the 26 billion and then to the 97 billion annually. Everything feels sustainable during the boom. Phase 2 is price collapse. Oil price is crash due to oversupply. Demand shock sometime coordinate creditor action, revenue collapse. But dollar dominate debt remain fixed at amount of the borrow. Venezuela earned about 95 billion for the oil 2013, by the 2016 earning the fell to 27 billion. The debt obligation during the transfer still owe 140 billion, but your income just dropped by the 70%. Phase 3 is restructuring. Debtor nation face default, and the creditor offer the payout, but the payout always the condition. So the IMF demand privatization, assurity, structure adjustment program. The China offers something. It sounds more generous. The China offers something. Sounds more generous. Debt for the oil. The agreement loan extension, exchange guarantee, which production to present the price. Both systems extract value, so they just do it differently. The IMF open your market. The foreign capital, the China, lock in your resource as below market rate for the decades. Feasible is asset transfer, unable to service debt. National sell state asset grant exploration right commit. The future production discount rate. Creditor acquired resource access was multiple of the original loan, so the debt create leverage. The resource extraction, the profit, is how the machine convert to the temporary financial pressures into the permanent resource control. Now let's look at how play out real number, because scalar wealth transfer is staggering in the IMF, dominated by the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank. Orchestrate payout totally 52 billion across the Latin American. Offer Mexico default. The condition hush, reduce government spending, open the market to foreign investment. Prioritize debt service over the domestic program between the 1982 to 89. Latin American nations transfer 223 billion to creditor bank. Think about the number. They transfer more money back than the total debt, than original owe, but there is where it gets more sophisticated. In March 1989, U.S. Treasury Secretary Nicholas Bradley announced the new debt restructuring mechanism. The commercial bank agreed to accept 30% to 35% haircut on the Latin American debt, exchange the Bradley bond, and name securities backed by the U.S. Treasury collateral. Sounds like a debt. Forgiveness right? Venezuela exchanged the 20.3 billion default debt and the 19.7 billion the Bradley bond. So the mechanism established something more valuable than full repayment debt for the equity swap. The bank forgive the debt exchange for ownership stake in the national oil company. The telecommunication system is utility by the 1995 foreign company controlled 40% of the Latin American privatized industry sector, worth about 180 billion sold, and just 69 billion debt relief. Your essential buy in the state of the asset, 62 billion discount by the creating debt crisis. This is Western model in action. U.S. debt crisis forced market liberalization, creditor will give some of the debt exchange for privatization and the market access. Fund acquiring the undervalued state asset, establishing long-term corporate control its immediate crisis, restructuring when it decays. Corporate ownership extracting the value. So here's when the story take a turn, change everything. China watch this entire process unfolded. Think about it. We can do this too. But differently, 2004, China Development Bank lent Angola 2 billion for the post-war reconstruction. The repayment term reasonable until look closely. 10,000 barrels per day delivery China at 45 per barrel, locked in 17 years. When oil hit about 100 per barrel in 2008, Angola still owed China oil at the 2004 prices. China effectively buying oil of the 55% of discount every single day. Between 2004 and 2019, China extended 42.7 billion commodity back the loan, and Angola secured 500,000 barrels per day at below the market. So Angola debt to the China and reaches 25 billion by the 2020. And here is key. China is already received oil worth about 52 billion in the market price. They are getting paid back twice, once in oil, once in continual debt leverage. The Chinese model works for the patient instead of the speed. They maintain government relationship, fund infrastructure development, and the log-in resource prior to decades. The profit comes from the below market commodity access, infrastructures, contract, employ Chinese company, worker, slower harvest, and the potential more valuable to. Over time, Ecuador provide another perfect example between the 2009 and the 2017. China Development Bank, Export-Import Bank of China, lent Ecuador about 18.4 billion repayment structure required Ecuador delivered 80 to 90% of oil production. And the PRO China, petrodollar China, is preset price, typically about $5 to $10 per barrel, so below market rates. 2015, when oil trade, all the number, oh my God, couple. When oil trade 50 per barrel, the Ecuador shipped 83 billion barrels to China. Contract rate average 42% barrel. The $8 per barrel discount is equal 664 million in values transferred a single year. So 2018, Ecuador owed China 7.2 billion master delivery, about 370,000 barrels daily, 2024. So Ecuador cannot benefit from the price increase during the recovery period. All upside belong to the China. You can see what belong to construct here. Two complex systems for the same resource extracting gold. The Western models use IMF enforced austerities break open the closed economic corporate access. The Chinese model uses the patient lending to lock the commodity supplied. Favorable rates. Neither system allow debtor nation to benefit for lower own resource during the price between now So look at what happened when those two systems compete for the same price. As oil price crashed from the 110 in June 2014, 36 in February 2016, Venezuela faced the exact crisis both systems were designed exploit. PDVSA production, Venezuela, PDVSA. So fall from the 2.0 million barrel to 2.88 million barrel per day in 2014, 2.1 million in 2017. Under investment mechanics value, external debt reached 150 billion November 2017. Venezuela default on the 60 billion government. PDVSA, the Western response immediately. Goldman Sachs purchased 2.88 billion PDVSA bond in the 31% of the dollars. So in May 2017, Venezuela repaid Goldman Sachs, earning the 222% return. If the Venezuela default completely, Goldman Sachs, the other bondholder claim legal right. PDVSA, U.S. basically sick of the petroleum worth of 8 to 10 billion. The debt becomes of the call option. Yeah, the option Venezuela asset by the 2020 more than 150 creditor filed a claim against Venezuela, totally 190 billion, seeking oil shipment, refinery ownership, and the surveillance asset. But China has already positioned itself differently, having extended 62 billion loan in Venezuela between the 2007 to 2017. So China holds a senior creditor status. The oil delivery contract Venezuela owed China 20 billion and must deliver 380,000 barrels per day at 40 and to the 50 per barrel locked to the regardless market. Here what makes it fascinating, both sides create same trap. From the spring they are competing who get the harvest. The IMF won't do the forces privatization open the Venezuela oil sector. The Western company and China want to maintain government relationship and continue receiving the discount oil. Both systems work through the debt leverage. Both extract wealth from resource abundance, the oil questions. The boom bust cycle from its either system is the engine that make both systems higher price, encourage borrowing, and the expansion price crash trigger the default. So default enable to asset transfer to resource lockup, and the pattern repeat 10 to 15 years in 1982 to 97, 98, 2008, and 9. And for 2014 to 2016, 2020, each cycle transfer wealth from the resource holder, creditor, who position themselves before the crash. What should concern every American is this: Venezuela sitting on the 303 billion barrel world largest proven oil reserve has become ultimately test case. Both systems see the same price. Whoever control the Venezuela debt control the Venezuela oil. Whoever control that oil supply influence. The global energy price, dollar demand, geopolitical leverage questions in 2015. The whether Venezuela would face the debt crisis, the mechanics guarantee If Christians was richest creditor, United States, China would position itself harvest collapse. The collapse and answer, the Christian reveal. The weather system built in 1970s still work when someone else learned how to operate the same machine. And happened next in Venezuela looked like a geopolitical chess match. And really both sides exacting the same playbook simultaneous with blocking each other move and the consequence competition beyond the South American nations. Let's start with the U.S. response to the Venezuela crisis. In 2017, August, President Trump signed executive order. Crisis on August 2017, President Trump signed Executive Order 13808, prohibit U.S. entity from participate in the Venezuela debt transaction. On the November 1st, 2018, Executive Order 13850 blocked the Venezuela gold export to the United States. Then January 20, 2019, come from the big one, Executive Order 13857, sanction PDVSA, freeze $7 billion U.S.-based CITO asset. What's their sanction? Actually, they blocked Venezuela from the dollar refinance market, traditional IMF Western restructured, worked in the 1980s. Venezuela oil export, United States for about 500,000 barrels per day, 2017, to 82,000 in 2019, zero by 2020. Essentially, cut Venezuela off the Western Virgin in debt for the oil machine. It's part of should make you pause the production. The oil keep flowing. As well, China has been prepared for the moment since 2007, having the extent 26 billion in the loan to the Venezuela between the 2007 and 2016. The China holds a 20 billion outstanding debt in 2018. Repayment structure required oil shipment 40 to 50 per barrel rock in the regardless what is market paying the Venezuela. Master delivery 280,000 barrels per day. This obligation meet the U.S. sanction, brought the dollars transaction. The China surrender lose access. China become the Venezuela primary customer by default. In 2019, Venezuela shipped to the 316,000 barrel daily. China payment come with yuan, China RMB, China dollar equipment, debt refinance. The dollar throughout the crisis China, so received oil at the $12 to the $15 per barrel. The market rate between the 2019-2023 extra and 8.9 billion values through the below, extend only 2.2 billion in the new credit. So you can see the genius China position why Western bond. The Western BOND bond and the holder filing the lawsuit, fighting over the frozen asset China receiving the actually oil. Massive discount, but they are not trying to seize code. Delaware called and they taking the delivery, 300,000 barrels per day directly now. So what happened when the nation get out of the dollar-based commodity market entirely broke, send oil dollars and buying the refined products, which is dollar Venezuela turned into something that a human have to use to the 5,000 years gold between the 2018-2020. Venezuela shipped 73 tons of the gold to the Turkey, UAE, and Iran, value about 3.1 billion in the gold purchased oil products, gasoline, diesel. Venezuela can no longer refine domestic due to the underinvestment. The sanction in March 2022, Reuters report, Venezuela shipped 65 tons of the gold to Iran to exchange the 1.5 million barrel gasoline. Condensed the transaction value in 2.4 billion. Think about what has happened. This is transaction bypassed. And the dollar settlement, the U.S. sanction entirely pure barter at a commodity level, and gold for the oil, and oil for the gold. And the 2024 Venezuela Central Bank report, 132 tons of the gold received the remaining. And now, from the 377 tons in 2014, the country is liquidate the monetary reserve, maintaining oil operation. Venezuela isn't working alone. In sanction evasion the economy, Russia entered as the middleman. Russia state oil company become the intermediary for the Venezuela oil starting with 2019. Rosneft by the PDVSA oil resale Asia refinery take 8% to 12% margin between the 2019 to 2020. Rosneft handled 750,000 barrels per day. Venezuela crude. It's constant about my business. It's constant about my business. So exciting now. When the U.S. sanction targeted Rosneft directly, that's the history. Tell us everything, detail about number, also who the beneficiaries. Okay. Every truth will come out after 50 years. In the February 2020s, Operation Simple shipped a smaller Russia trader and the UAE-based company, the oil kept moving through the different channel of the 2000. By 2023, it's India emerged Venezuela's second largest customer, affected China, and importing the 470,000 barrels per day. Payment come in the rupee, mechanic, no, not dollar. So let me put this perspective for you. So Venezuela oil production basically collapsed. Oh my God, pity. Venezuela oil recycle, this is how the life recycles. So Venezuela is oil recycle. Venezuela oil production has collapsed between the 2.8 million barrels per day. In 2014, around the 750,000 in 2023. So remaining oil is not flowing. That's why they, oh my God. So lots of words, you see. Remaining oil is floating almost entirely outside the dollar system. In 1970, China took the largest share, paid the RMB, and India took the second largest pay to the rupee, and Iran took the payment in gold. Iran is smarter. Iran take payment in gold, and Russia facilitated take the margin, the only currency not being used to. So it's designed design the entire system. So who actually win? Who lose? Who actually win? Who lose? Is new configurations. China win, acquiring oil at the 20 to 30% of a discount through the distressed debt leverage estimate, saving about 11.3 billion for the 2023. The compared to the market price, more important, China established precedent for the yuan-based oil trading outside petrodollar system. So Russia win. Russia a winner, so by earning the intermediate. So Russia win is earning intermediary fee. The Russia's win intermediary win fee. So position itself go to the sanction facilitate. The Russia trade earn estimate 1.4 billion in margin between 2019 and 2022. They are getting the reach of the Venezuela alone. They are building the alternate trading infrastructure. So India and other alternative buyers win by the purchase discount. Crude oil, crude oil out traditional. And estimate about 6.8 billion between the 2022 2023. I'm very tired. Oh my God. Buying the Venezuela and the Russia crude 8 to 12% barrel. Brent prices gold alternative settlement system. When as trading volume and the not dollar commodity increase, gold for the oil butter reaches estimate $15 billion annually across the Venezuela, Iran, Russia combined 2024. Now let's talk about the lost, because this is get a personal. Every American Venezuela people lost. Catastrophic hyperinflation reaches. Wow. Oh my God, you see? Oh my God, I can't believe that. 1,698,488%. 个十百千万十万百万 1,600,098%. 1,000,000%. You see? 2008, then 9,085% in 2019. The GDP contact 75% between 2013 to 2020. 7.3 million Venezuela, 23% of the entire population. Immigrant creating the large refugee crisis in Latin American history. The oil wealth exists underground, but it cannot convert to the public goods. Infrastructure quality in the Western bond holder lose about 60 billion in the default bond and the trade in the 5 to 8% of the dollars. Cycle liquidation proceeding and continue. The court, ConocoPhillips win as the 8.7 billion arbitrations award in the 2019. Collective only the 1.3 billion to the asset seizures, and you are holding the legal claim. That may never convert to the actual payment, but he is a big loser. You should concern about every American who holds dollar system is credibility itself, every oil transaction settled outside the dollar weakened structural demand U.S. currency. In 1970, if the Venezuela patent spread, the largest producer, the petrodollars mechanics, established in 1974, begin unraveling. Here's the should really keep it up. Venezuela isn't large enough alone. The threatened dollar asset at the current production level, 3% of global oil supply. The danger isn't Venezuela itself, it's President Venezuela set in China successfully leveraged debt crisis, secure oil supply outside the dollar. The modern become the replicable. A commodity-rich nation, and that is exactly what is starting to see that what's happened. The Saudi Arabia already accept yuan for Chinese oil purchase. In March 2023, the UAE settled 12% of the Chinese trade in yuan. They used Chinese RMB. You see, the Chinese traded yuan to 2024. The Russia settled 90% oil outside the dollars. That's why they create philosophy, war. You see, the war is becoming like this. The Venezuela, Gaza, Israel, Russia. Behind is China. See, combined volume is 80 million barrels. 24% global oil trade settled partially, entirely outside the dollar. The mechanism, so that's why Libya, Gaddafi. The time mechanics is 70 universe participation, maintain structured dollar demand. So this is very sensitive. Crack in the system, every bilateral deal, every gold swap, every yuan settlement reduce the demand of the incrementally. Think about the dam is small leak or the one leak doesn't break the dam, but the dozens of leaks in the same structure create systematic pressure. So United States sanctioned Venezuela to maintain leverage forces. That is the reason, Traditional debt restruct and instead of to accidentally demonstrate oil can flow without the dollars. Creditor can profit without the dollars. Denominate the debt alternative currency. Facilitate the same transaction the China and other creditor nations earn the lesson perfectly. The debt oil mechanism still work regardless which is currency. Denominate the loan. Here's what the meaning of the practice system. The break from the outside attack. The break when the participate realize alternative mechanisms work for the same way. Once oil producer understand they can play the creditor nation against each other, accepting the RMB based loan from China rupee based deal with India gold swap to Iran. So that's why the U.S. with Iran. Because Iran, oh my God. So the dollar structure advantages disappear. Economic collapse won't come from the Venezuela defaulting. Already happened 2017 collapse come from every oil producer realized they can choose which is credit nation work with the based on the best term, not based on which is currency the global system requires. And the point, the question isn't whether to participate in the debt oil mechanism, which is the virgins offer the better deal and the latter choice multiple across the dozen of the commodity-rich nation. Angola, Kazakhstan, Iraq determine which currency actually back to the global economic going forward. The Venezuela isn't really about the Venezuela oil. It's all about the 1974 blueprint, you see. Everything has blueprint. my work, my life achievement work, her blueprint. But they want to erase my blueprint. You see? Damn, it's not gonna happen. My blueprint never gonna erase. Okay. I'm come from the ancient few thousand years ago. My ancestor, my prophecy. 1974 design. They talk about prophecy. They talk about something. However, real prophecy here. The time tell everything. Blueprint is prophecy. Okay. Nothing is prophecy. Blueprint, and they will create the fake prophecy all over the global. But real prophecies here is blueprint. The blueprint still work for design the weather of a new creditor nation. Learn how to copy. Run parallel system. Remember, William Simon flying to the Saudi Arabia in December 1974 with the secret deal 50 years later. The Chinese officials are flying to the Caracas, Mexico, Riyadh, Tehran, Abu Dhabi with a different offer: debt relief, infrastructure investment. And the yuan-based trade is debt for the oil mechanics still function exactly designed, so the currency it just changes hand. Venezuela 2003 billion barrel during the Patek bronze crisis. The oil made vulnerable, the dollars dominate the debt. Then creditor competition finally become the testing ground whether its petrodollar system can survive a competitor using the same playbook, the same pattern. They build American financial hegemony and being used against. The question every American should be asking isn't whether Venezuela will recover. The question is the system made our dollar and global reserve currency survival when other nations figure out they don't need to use it because once realization spread beyond Venezuela, major oil producer, we depend on the entirely structured global finance. It's the value of every dollar you earn, self-start operation by the different rule. And those are new rule wasn't written. That's a problem. So petrodollars is breaking now. Wow. 50 years. Petrodollars breaking now. In December 1974, U.S. Treasury Secretary William Simon flew to Saudi Arabia, carrying a secret letter would reshape the global power for the next 50 years. The mission wasn't about buying the oil. It was about making oil only valuable in dollars. The blueprint refined over decades. And now the weapon both Washington and Beijing are using to fight over the Venezuela 300 billion barrel of the crude oil. About this moment was entirely global financial system. You participate every day. It's retirement account. Your saving, the value of every dollar you earn was actually built mechanics designed in a secret negotiation 50 years ago. And what if same mechanic is now being reversed, engineered by the big economic rival? Picture the scenery. August 15, 1971. Camp David, president of Nixon, appeared for the television, announced United States will no longer convert dollar to the gold. That time is per ounce $35. So the Bretton Woods system, which had anchor global finance since 1944. Collapse. Oh, my practice is 1934. Wow, 1944 collapsed overnight. Within the 18 months, the dollar lose about 10% of the value in central bank. So worldwide panic is questioned. Everyone asking, what the back to the dollars now? The answer will come from the unexpected crisis. So October 1973, Egyptian Syria forces attacked Israel. During the Yom Kippur was by October 17, Arab members of the OPEC declared the oil embargo against the nations, supporting Israel oil price. Okay. Grappled from the $3 to the 12 per barrel. Wow. Multiple times, 4 times. $3 to the 12 per barrel in just 4 months. You have probably seen the photo car lineup. Block and the American gas station. Driver waiting for hours for fuel. Waiting for hours for fuel stations. Running dry midday. Loads of shortage line tier 1. The story, but the real story unfold is secret negotiation between 1974 and 75 negotiation, the most American never heard about at the time. The Treasury Secretary William Simon and the Assistant Secretary David Moffett sit down with the Saudi official and lay out a deal that sounds almost too simple. Here are the terms Saudi Arabia price or its oil in dollars. Reinvestment surplus dollar in U.S. Treasury bond and the exchange. We provide a military protection and access to the American weapon. Think about that. That is really mean what every country on the earth need to energy now has to hold to the dollars every barrel of oil sold everywhere create demand our currency. But in 1977, 20% of U.S. Treasuries securities are held by the OPEC nation. 1977, the U.S. Treasury securities is held by the OPEC nation. The dollar now backed by the oil demand instead of gold regain reserve currency status. We didn't just recover from the collapse. The Bretton Woods was built something more powerful system. Global energy depends on create automatic demand of the American currency. If you want your oil and you need our dollars, so here where's Venezuela enter the picture. The January 1st, 1976, the President Carlos Andrew nationalized the Venezuela oil industry, creating the Petros Venezuela PDV SA. At the time, Venezuela told a proven reserve 80 billion barrel of the 18 billion barrel later revised of 303 billion of the Aramco. So the bad heavy crude this discovery annual production reaches 2.3 billion barrels per day. So Venezuela became the OPEC, where the number of the capital earning about 13.8 billion oil revenue in 1974. It looked like a triumphant sovereign, right? A nation taking control of its own natural resource, joined the club of the oil-rich state, and seemed to hold all the card. There's something most people miss out. Is the moment here is what actually happened. Behind the nationalization ceremony, international bank flush with petrodollar, and from Saudi Arabia and other OPEC members begin to lending aggressively to oil production. The Venezuela external debt grew, become 1.2 billion in 1970 and 29 billion in 1982. Think about the trajectory in the 12 years. Venezuela debt multiple was 24 times. So the pattern emerged, and the crucial understand oil-rich nations borrow the dollars against the future production, essential prices there. So that's why direct S&P 500. So, Standard & Poor 500. Less surveillance and the current oil price. When price crashed in 1986, again in the 2014, the debt remained and the revenue collapsed. You still owe the same amount, but your income dropped by the half. And then more, between 1975 and 80, mechanics take the poor shape. Every nation needs energies has to hold the dollars. Every nation with all the revenue, except dollar. The system required continual dollar circulation through the oil market. Any nation holding the both oil reserve and the dollar, that become what you might call the pressure point, a place where creditor nations are extra leverage. So let's zoom out to see what is actually construct in the decades. So in 1917, established a trap of the disguise as the prosperities oil production nations gain immediately wealth and the surrounding long-term autonomy and the denominating debt in dollars and oil contract in dollars. So we create structural demand, our currency, and persist regardless our trade balance, fiscal policy, even economic performance. Venezuela, 1976, separate the power, newly nationalized oil wealth, massive reserve in OPEC membership,